It is December, and on Kaleidoscope we brought the full Christmas spirit, albeit a little early, but we all need some good cheer, right? Hello and welcome to Kaleidoscope with me, Savithri Rodrigo. Today my backdrops will have some of the oldest churches in Sri Lanka just to add that essence of Christmas, the birth of Christ. This is the National Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu in Mannar, with over 400 years of history enclosed in beautiful European Revival Baroque architecture and believed to be the holiest Catholic shrine in Sri Lanka. On our show today, Santa is here with Christmas gifts from Healing Island and Harpo's for 2 lucky Kaleidoscope subscribers. On our People's Bank News Capsule is former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, W.A. Vijayawardena, moderating the ratings debate, and Amir Adamali and Anjali Jayawardena of The Effect, who prompt a branding makeover. Dila Veerasinghe bears Healing Island's natural essentials on Singer Life in 60, and council member of the International Working Group on Women and Sport, Lilamani de Soiza, and the chairperson of the Women's Committee of the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka, Nilu Jayatilaka, tackle abuse in the sporting arena. And that's on Selinko Life. Let's talk. Welcome to the Kaleidoscope Snapshot, and in the background you will see the Christian Reformed Church, testament to the Dutch missionaries in Sri Lanka dating back to 1658. Moody's says banks in India and Sri Lanka could post larger capital declines due to uneven recoveries prompted by the pandemic. Headline inflation, measured year-on-year in the Colombo Consumer Price Index, increased marginally to 4.1% in November. Vehicle registrations in Sri Lanka fell drastically to a little over 4,000 compared to 30,000 vehicles registered in October last year. The Dutch hospital turned 9 this week. The restaurants and outlets are raring to go this season. After 275 years in business, the legendary Debenhams will be closing the doors of its 124 stores. US President-elect Joe Biden appointed an all-female senior communications team for his White House. And that's our Kaleidoscope Snapshot, making way for our People's Bank News Capsule. We begin our People's Bank News Capsule with the backdrop of the Groutaker standing at the highest point of the Galle Fort, showcasing impressive Roman and Greek architecture of 1755. Sri Lanka's investor outlook got a bit of a shake-up when Fitch Ratings preempted Moody's downgrade about 3 weeks ago prior to the budget with a rating of Caa2. Fitch equated Sri Lanka's country rating to CCC with no outlook, and I asked former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, W.A. Vijayawardena, what this downgrade means for Sri Lanka.
The Sri Lanka's existing international sovereign bonds, which are now being traded in the secondary market, are being traded at a deep discount. So what it means is the international sovereign bond market is out for Sri Lanka in order to raise money. So it has to now raise money from other sources like this multilateral and bilateral borrowings. But the Fitch rating had very clearly said the amount which Sri Lanka can raise through these means had been very low. So as a result, the country is actually heading towards a situation where country will have to default its foreign loans in the future. There is another important thing that has happened because the Sri Lanka had given a massive concession to foreign investors who are to invest in Sri Lanka government local treasury bonds and treasury bills. But despite the incentives given, the amount which the foreigners have invested had come down from 14 billion US Sri Lanka rupees to 8 billion Sri Lanka rupees recently. So which means is that even the foreign investors have no confidence in Sri Lanka government's ability to repay its domestic debt. So which is a very bad thing. I hope the government will take this message very seriously and do something to establish a credible budget, credible loan repayment program, rather than finding fault with the international rating agencies, whose opinion is not addressed to Sri Lanka government but to prospective investors.
The Colombo stock market began December on a positive note, with healthy turnover sustaining the momentum seen in November, which closed on a 9% gain. By close of market on Thursday, the indices was up by 2.76% and the daily turnover also increased from last week, averaging 2.54 billion rupees. WTI oil was steady at $45.42 per barrel, holding on to recent gains, while gold regained momentum, steadying at $1,840 per ounce. With COVID-19 being rampant and the police being in the front line, Selingco Life donated face shields and reusable PPE kits to 11 police stations in the Western Province in the 3 worst impacted districts. On Kaleidoscope, we enjoy featuring young startups. These 2 young people loved the whole concept of branding and decided to use their combined unique skill set to change the way brands tell their story. Here's Anjali Jayawardena and Amir Adamali from The Effect.
The Effect started with due to a shared mutual love for branding and everything revolving around branding. Both of us have worked in different areas of marketing before, and we decided to collaborate both of our efforts together to build this and what we do as well.
The Effect mainly aims at helping small businesses or an individual or even large companies really to tell authentic stories. We realize that there's a lack of authentic online presence because everything comes off as very gimmicky, very marketing oriented, but we want to help you build a brand and build a persona, and that's really what sets us apart, because even in the past work that we've done, the copywriting to the graphic work, everything we do is very unique to your brand.
The first Sri Lankan-born MP in New Zealand, Vanushi Walters, made her maiden speech in Parliament this week. Her great-grandmother was Nesam Saravanamuttu, the second woman to be elected to the State Council of Ceylon in 1931. And this is the first time that Maori, Sinhalese, Tamil and English have been spoken in a speech made on the floor of the New Zealand Parliament.
Ayubowan Vanakkam. My congratulations, Mr. Speaker, on your reappointment. I want to acknowledge your guidance through the induction, and I look forward to your guidance this term. There is still so much to be done for human rights protection in many countries around the world, because Manitha Urimehal Ane Vurukkum Sundamanadu Manava Hemikam Sialantama Aiti.
This is Santa in coronavirus times. He is social distancing, has layers of protection and will not be having children on his lap. So December on Kaleidoscope is full of goodies. This week, Santa will give 2 lucky subscribers a gift pack from Healing Island and a voucher from Harpo's, either to take away or dine in. Subscribe right now if you haven't, and if you already have, all you have to do is to send us an email on kaleidoscopeweekly1@gmail.com with the answer to how many reindeer did Santa have? Don't forget to give us your contact number too. Next week, there are more gifts on offer. So that's our People's Bank News Capsule this week. Coming up is Council Member of the International Working Group on Women in Sport, Lilamani De Souza, and the Chairperson of the Women's Committee of the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka, Nilu Jayatilaka, on Selingco Life. Let's talk.
With Selingco Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for a retirement today. Selingco Life, a relationship for life.
Abuse in the sporting arena has been existent for decades, but it is only recently that sports people have been brave enough to speak out. But it's most often too late. The price has been paid by the victim, and the perpetrator has continued to abuse vulnerable sports people until caught out. 150 years plus in prison for Larry Nassar is a case in point. On Selingco Life Let's Talk are 2 women who have been working on the front lines in trying to make the game clean and removing the monsters of harassment from the game. First up on Selingco Life Let's Talk, we check out what the international sporting arena is like. Lilamani De Souza is a former national table tennis player, and her love and passion for sport took her to Lausanne, where she is now on the executive board of the International Working Group for Women in Sport and an independent sports consultant. So in your experience, how bad is the physical and sexual harassment of sports people globally?
Sport reflects society in general. So physical, sexual harassment and abuse in society and how the way people are protected or not protected in society would be reflected in sport. And yes, given all the horrendous examples that we have of harassment in sport, the big examples, and we don't know the rest that is not even talked about, it is really a serious issue, which sometimes even can lead to death.
For a sports person, training is grueling at the best of times, especially if you're in the big league. Now, where does this training actually stop and the abuse begin?
It's part of the culture of sport. It's a part of the culture of governance, because people close their eyes. Obviously, people are closing their eyes to things that are happening, because there's not one perpetrator. There are many. Very often, it's a group thing, and training stops, I guess, when people fall, leave sport, or they get depressed and some, end their career. But harassment, and the consequences of harassment and suffering goes on forever, unless there is some sort of justice, or you can talk about it, or get rid of what is happening. So it's a very tough, it's a very difficult situation. Also, there's a taboo around it. It's shameful. It's you don't talk about it, and of course, if you talk about it, you lose your position in the team. It's an awful thing. So it has to be. We have to look at it from a governance perspective, and ensure that there is good governance, and people really take this seriously before it becomes too late.
For a sports person who's actively pursuing a career, is the system strong enough to make sure that they get justice if they do whistleblow?
I think whistleblowers, for example, in sport, should be protected. Whistleblowers it has a negative connotation, but a whistleblower is someone who's trying to change something, do something good. And I think the systems are not strong enough, because these things have not been taken seriously. It's sort of new. It's not an old topic. It's not a new topic. But the way we are taking action now is relatively new, because if you look at sport until the late 1990s and early 2000s, very few sport organizations had put in place systems and structures to respond to complaints about the behavior of adults or young adults.
Is there redress for all genders equally? And I'm talking about LGBTQ people as well.
It's all linked, isn't it? If women don't have a voice, if male athletes can't come out and speak about it, and we don't talk about it, so you can be sure that LGBTQ athletes, who are even more vulnerable, do not, get a lot of attention. So if you have societies that are, not there, LGBTQ is an issue, you can be sure that those athletes are not protected well enough. You see what's happening even with someone like Caster Semenya, who's different, at Dutee Chand, who are asked to artificially bring down their testosterone levels so that they are more female. This is for me, a kind of abuse as well. So, no, there is really no redress for all genders equally. And this is a way we close doors to many young people who lose all interest in PE and sport.
And so we need to remove harassment from the game. And that's exactly what the National Olympic Committee decided to do. With a strong campaign titled "Harassment is No Game," the NOC now brings out a safe space for sports people to be open about any form of abuse. Chairperson of the Women's Committee of the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka, Nilu Jayatilaka, joins in on Selinko Live. Let's talk.
I believe that, like any other country, Sri Lanka too faces sexual harassment and abuse and all forms of harassment in sports. But it's just that we don't talk about it, or culturally we don't want to talk about it. So the campaign is all about creating that safety net and the safety environment so that our athletes feel comfortable in talking about it. and coming out with kind of harassment. It could be physical, it could be sexual harassment, it could be verbal abuse, it could be in terms of mental abuse as well. So harassment comes under different spheres. So the whole campaign, Harassment is No Game, is about educating our athletes and also our school children to come forward and join sports so that they have a safety environment to compete and reach for those medals.
The sporting arena has for long not seen justice for these crimes. Hopefully, this is now a start. Thank you Lilamani D'Souza and Nilu Jayatilaka for joining us on Selinko Life. Let's talk.
With Selinko Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for a retirement today. Selinko Life, a relationship for life.
Next up on Singer Life in 60, we bear the natural essentials of Healing Island. While I stand in front of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese St. Lucia's Cathedral, with its Gothic architecture dating back to 1760, Dila Veerasinghe is ready to bear Healing Island's natural essentials on Singer Life in 60.
Healing Island is a holistic wellness product that's handmade with a lot of natural ingredients wherever possible, and we supply the local hotels as well as we retail at Odell, Barefoot and Urban Island. And we make personal care products, which are our body butters, our sugar scrubs, our massage oils. We do shampoo bars and soaps as well. And we're very proud to say that our soaps are palm oil free, doing our little bit for the environment. During the pandemic, we diversified into hand sanitizer, which has been lab tested and approved, 75% alcohol. I found it important that we diversify. This Christmas, Healing Island has a range of gift packs that you can come into our workshop store and choose from and enjoy Christmas.
And don't forget, there's a gift pack awaiting a Kaleidoscope subscriber and a gift voucher from Harpo's too. Thank you Dila Veerasinghe for joining us on Singer Life in 60. And to win those gifts this week, tell us how many reindeer Santa has to pull his sleigh. Write to us on kaleidoscopeweekly1@gmail.com. Do click on the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Kaleidoscope with Savithri Rodrigo, and press the bell icon to remain updated. Christmas might be near, but so is the coronavirus. So please be ultra careful, wash your hands, wear your mask, and avoid crowded places. Now, here's your Kaleidoscope takeaway. Peace on earth will come to stay when we live Christmas every day.